Hello students, this is Mr. Smith and I'm going to share with you the Math Facts Squared Facts Part 2 video. This is a part of our Math Facts Strategies series. Now in the first Squared Facts Part 1 video, I told you that there were only 2 Squared Facts videos. Now, that is true that you only need to watch the first 2. However, I'm going to let you know that if this one makes sense to you, I'm actually going to make a third video for you to watch. You don't have to watch it. If this doesn't make sense, we'll find a different strategy that works for you. But if this squared facts video makes sense to you, I'm going to have you watch the third one, which will help you figure out more facts. And even if you are stuck on this one a little bit, if you want to watch it again and again, and then it finally starts to get in there and you understand it, then let's go ahead and try the third one. But you don't have to. The third video will be optional. Okay, so let's get on to this one. So squared facts, part 2. Essentially what this video deals with is that I can use my knowledge of squared facts, such as 4 times 4 equals 16, to figure out other facts. Yeah, I'm going to say that one more time. I can use my knowledge of squared facts to figure out other facts. Let's take a look exactly what I mean. Before I do so, just a reminder what our squared facts are is that essentially the first number and the second number are the same. 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, and so forth. And just a quick peek at all of our answers here. I think these first 4 or 5 you pretty well have under your belt. We talked about 6 times 6 has 3 6's in it. 7 times 7, put them in a straight line. 7 times 7 is 49. 8 times 8 fell on the floor, picked it up, had 64. 9 times 9, you could do 9 plus 9 to get 18, and then you flip the 18 over to make it 81. And 10 times 10 is 100. So those are ones that we've talked about already. Now, let's get into today's pieces of what we want to do. So again, like I said here, we want to think of 6 times 7. Let's use an array. So again, we have our 6 rows, and we have our 7 columns. Now, what I could do, instead of thinking of this as 6 times 7, I want you to think of it as 6 times 6. And what that would look like on the array, of course, is this right here, is that I would have 6 squared, 6 times 6, and I would, for the moment, just forget about those other dots right there, that last column. And so just think of it as 6 times 6. And you remember 6 times 6 has 3 6's in the answer. But now you can't forget completely about that one that you covered up. So now we need to go back and add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have to put 6 more in there, don't we? So in other words, I'm going to add 6 to the squared 6 times 6. And that, if I do it correctly, is going to get me the answer of 42. And 42 is the answer to 6 times 7. Alright, so let's try that again with another one. Okay, so here you can see we have 8 times 9. I want to think of this as 8 times 8. So again, what that looks like is this. Think of it as a square. And just temporarily, for it a little bit, forget about that last row. And we know that 8 times 8 fell on the floor, picked it up, had 64. And then once I have that part, I've got to go back and remember that I've got to put in that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have to put those 8 that I took out of there back in. So when I do that, and I add this up, I get the answer of 72, which is what 8 times 9 equals. Let's move on to our next one. 7 times 8. What are we going to do? That's right. Think of it as 7 times 7, which is a square. And we temporarily forget about that extra column, that 8th column. And 7 times 7 in a straight line, 7 times 7 is 49. And then we have to remember that extra 7 because there were 7 that we covered up. And then when you add this up, you're going to get 16 and 5, 56. And that's what 7 times 8 equals, is 56. Alright, so let's look at this in terms of rules. So if I'm going to do 6 times 7, so I'm going back to the one that I did before, right here. We know it's going to be 42. I'm going to make the problem a square fact close to the original problem, and that was the 6 times 6. And again, of course, remember, we're just thinking of that square, and you have that one extra set that you're not using right away, but after you figure out that this is 36, you figure out the square, then you want to bring that extra 6 in there, and you add that to the square. So that's what the second rule is. After you figure out the square fact, add the remaining column, and that's what that remaining column is. Do the same thing here. Make the original problem a square fact instead. That's close to the original fact. And again, remember, that's what it looks like here. We have that extra column over here. So once you figure out that 8 times 8 fell on the floor, picked it up, had 64. After you've done that, you're going to add 8 to that, and you'll get the answer of 72 up here, right? And I need to go back one, and I need to, of course, finish this one, which was 42. Let's do one more here. So 7 times 8, we're going to make it we're going to think of it as 7 times 7. And again, that looks like this. And we have that one extra column. So 7 times 7 in a straight line, 7 times 7 is 49. So you've done the first step. The second step then, after you figure out the square fact, add the remaining column, which of course is 7. And 49 plus 7 is 56. Now, a little shortcut you can do without using the array is you can just visualize this in your head. So again, what do we do first? That's right, we're going to make that problem a square fact close to the original. And then whatever we get, we're going to add 6. So 6 times 6, then plus 6. Let's work on this one. 8 times 9 is going to become 8 times 8 plus 8. And of course 7 times 8 is going to be 7 times 7 plus 7. So that's how you can think about these problems that are close to the square number problems. And if this makes sense to you, like I said, I have a third video that you can watch. It's kind of more of an advanced one about squares, and so you can see what that's about if this one makes sense. If this doesn't make sense, go watch it again, and if that doesn't make sense after that, or maybe after another watch of it, a third watching of it, let's try to find a different strategy for you. So this is one of the strategies that you can use to figure out some math facts, and I wish you good luck in your work.